Welcome back to the Mastering Runeterra podcast with Jay and Bay, the #1 source for competitive Legends of Runeterra news and information. If you're looking for the best decks to play right now, be sure to check us out on Twitter at Master Runeterra or in our Discord. And if you want to take the next step in leveling up your game, check out our Runeterra team on Patreon, where we do weekly learning calls and one-on-one coaching. Now strap in and grab yourself some Poro snacks, because we are about to start Mastering Runeterra.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Mastering Runeterra podcast. We have a fantastic episode for you here today. A pretty big one that we're really excited to get into. Big patch, new cards, all that kind of stuff. But first, got to thank our sister podcast, Runeterra Radio. Saucy and Blevins do a great job. Make sure to check them out. They're great guys. So, Jason, what are you excited about?
Oh my goodness, this patch is huge. This is basically everything I wanted and then some. They took the hatchet to the metagame. Everything got hit.
Yeah.
Every single one of the top decks. Top decks? What? Top deck?
Top decks, yeah.
No. It's lost all meaning now. Uh-huh. Yeah. All of them had some important cards get nerfed and get knocked down to the point where, like, some of them are gone completely, and a lot of them are just not the powerhouses they once were. We'll get into a little bit more specifics of like how the decks are doing a little bit later, but it's a whole new world. It's a whole new ball game, a whole new meta.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I wanted.
Yes, and not even considering that there's an entire new expansion now. There's a new expansion. If we don't even talk about that, what this patch felt like to me was they just like reset Runeterra. That's what it feels like.
Yep.
It feels like we just took everything and we went
Gutsy.
Right? And like the big one for me is a lot of cards that were previously nerfed got reverted.
Was there a lot? I know there was like Misfortune. That was the only one I noticed.
Misfortune, Will of Ionia.
Okay.
Karma. So basically what I'm saying is Ionia cards that I like got reverted. But like that's a big one, and I like that not just for the cards that they got, but I like that they're willing to revisit these cards that they previously changed, because that just, I think, bodes well once you realize that like maybe Will of Ionia at 4 mana isn't like the absolute menace that it used to be. I don't know, that's just what people told me. Then it's okay to like bring it back, and I think that's good. I definitely like that, because the power level of the game has changed, and what's important in the game has also changed with these new regions, new cards. The game plays out a little differently than it used to. So very excited that we're seeing like a lot of these old cards kind of come back, and we'll get into the changes here in a second.
Yeah, for sure. It was always interesting to me that like Will of Ionia was 5, and then Homecoming, even now as they are both 4 mana, Homecoming just seems like better in a lot of instances.
Sometimes,
not always. Of course, like if you don't have to bounce, or they can kill your thing. Mm-hmm. But like if you can get value out of your thing, or save your thing and set
and bounce theirs,
oof, big tempo.
Homecoming is a very powerful effect, and it bounces landmarks, which one of the only decks to not get hit. The only decks to really not get hit are the Freljord Shurima decks. Turbo Thralls and Overwhelm did not get touched. Technically, Watcher got nerfed, right, with Lysandra. Watcher got hit super hard, by the way. TLC is no more.
I almost was like, you know what? Maybe I could make it happen. And I was imagining like, watching them and them still having 3 cards left, and I was like,
they still get to attack twice, and you're like, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe no.
So Watcher now needs to see 5 8-mana things. Great change. But then also after it like laser beams your deck, you still have 3 cards left. So it's not like the kill. It's not like the insta kill that it used to be.
Not even close.
Wild. They wanted that gone. Watcher's a huge hit. But Turbo Thralls actually got buffed. Clockhand's a 7/7 instead of a 4/7. And like Turbo Thralls was almost a tier 1 deck through the most popular deck in the meta, which had one of the best counter matchups I've ever seen in my life against it. Like, it was like 17% win rate against Aurelia. And like that deck was still like crushing a lot of ladder.
Yeah, because it was super good into like TLC, Threat
the Dragons deck.
Yeah.
Really good into like everything else. Yeah. So keep an eye on that one. The other one to watch out for was Overwhelm. Overwhelm also didn't get touched. Merciless Hunter, no nerf. That one surprised me. But we'll get more into like the meta and how things are going to change in a bit. Right now, I want to talk more about the big changes. What are like the big hits for you of the pack?
So yeah, going through the other top decks, Aurelia, Azir, both Aurelia and Azir leveling up a little bit later now. Still, the deck is still good.
Still good,
but those are definitely significant.
It slows it down. Slows it down about a turn. Also,
Azir especially, I think Azir, like if you like when Azir flips, it's like, oh man,
oh my god, all of a sudden it's like
another
light
turn away.
So like boom.
And then I mean,
Droplet
Doomkeeper
card and
Doomkeeper both got hit. Yeah,
Doomkeeper getting switched to a 1/2. Finally, that card's been absolutely nuts since it was released.
Absurd.
And everyone knew, right? You just saw it and you're like,
what?
Excuse me? This doesn't. Where's the drawback?
4 damage, 1 mana, block 2 things. What?
Yeah, this is insane. So yeah, Doomkeeper's a 1/2 now, which is a great change. And the droplet no longer has a tune, which kind of ruins the coolness of the card a little bit, but makes it a lot more fair, because that card was a little nuts. So yeah, Aurelia Azir definitely slowed down, which is very nice. Getting an extra turn can really swing a lot of matchups. So that was big. For me, the biggest change is Karma went back to 5 mana. Okay. Well, actually, that's probably not the biggest change. But yeah, Karma went to 5 mana, and Twin Disciplines is now 2 mana. Will of Ionia is 4 mana. So huge Ionia buffs. Huge Ionia buffs. And I'm playing a lot of Karma, and we will get to that. But the ones that suck are the huge nerfs to Targon. Star Shaping heals for 4. Whatever. That's fine.
Not a big deal. Not a big deal.
Fangs is a 2/2. Whatever. Fine. Fangs was insane. Right? But Serpent's now a 1/1. Which means that they double nerfed Fangs. Zoe got a bit of a nerf, and Spacey Sketcher got a bit of a nerf. Because that's the only like removal Targon has without like invoking big things.
Yeah, Serpent is what it was a 2/1, like just insane.
Yeah, it was very good. And I think you could nerf Serpent or you could nerf Fangs, but why do you have to nerf both?
Yeah, whatever. Targon had its time. Come on.
Yeah,
it's been basically the best region since it came out, or like just after.
Yeah. It just makes me sad.
So.
Just because it's my favorite. I just love doing broken Targon things. I never run out of cards. So
this
nice.
Is the thing though. The everything got hit though, so it's like the power level kind of all came down together. I've been playing some Targon decks. I haven't found them to be like, oh no, this is good.
This is unplayable. No, they're just not
did, however, play some Thresh Nasus and also took some hits. Nasus no longer has Fearsome.
Curse Keeper's a 4/2.
Curse Keeper's the Abomination.
Escaped Abomination is a 4/2.
Which is very significant.
Did you know that card used to be a 4/4?
No.
Yeah, apparently before we started playing, the card was a 4/4. How insane is that? Who thought that was okay?
But you have to sacrifice. You have to do all this work to get your own. Like, you have to kill your own thing.
I think Ravenous Butcher and Glibsbeyond were like in the base expansion.
Oh really?
So we're like, there's only like 2 ways to do it. Whatever. And
that's so funny.
Clearly didn't last. So yeah, Thresh Nasus did take a bit of a hit. Escaped Abomination going into an X2 instead of an X3 is big. Like that extra point of toughness is such a big deal. Yeah. So that's huge. Make It Rain's 2 mana again.
I've seen a lot of play right now.
Oh yeah, I love that card. I also love that I can play like Ezreal Bilgewater right now. Like I'm having so much fun with Ezreal Twisted Fate. Also, that new card, Line 'em Up, the one that like the burst speed 2 mana that makes a cake, and then it gives you Knock 'em Down, which is the 1 mana deal 1 to anything. It's so good. It's so good, and it's so flexible because you could go like Line 'em Up, Twisted Fate red card, and then still like ping something down, right?
Yeah,
or whatever, or like Line 'em Up, Make It Rain. It's such a cool card.
Yeah, really like it. Another big nerf was Rummage, going from 1 mana to 2 mana.
Rummage is 2, Stalking Shadows is 3, and Tribeam is 5.
Yeah. So I think for like Ezreal Draven, doesn't care too much about those. It's like, it's annoying, but whatever. I think discard aggro though, Rummage going to 2 is a big deal.
TF is. That's a huge hit.
Oh, sure.
Also, more people playing Make It Rain is not good for TF is. But yeah, like the Rummage nerf really hurts TF is. I do not think Ezreal Draven really cares at all about the Rummage nerf. You're already only playing 2, and like, yeah, it kind of sucks, I guess. It is a nerf, right? But like, whatever. You're not. Doesn't really matter. And you usually don't cast Rummage till like later in the game anyway, like turn 4, 5, and onward. And Tribeam going to 5 makes it less so you could go like Avaros and Sentry, Tribeam, Flock, and like win the game, right? Which I think is a totally fine like change, because that's Draven Ezreal was so good at that. It would get to like turn 7 or 8 and just completely kill you. You could have 3 or 4 things on board and they just like run through you all, deal 12 damage, and have 4 things on board to your 0. So I think that's a fine nerf. Like you said, they just kind of took the pillars of the format and just kind of like just dropped them all down and then brought other things up. You really should, if you haven't, do yourself a favor, go read the patch notes. There's so many changes in there. You really should take the time to read through all of them.
Yeah, I'm assuming most people listening to this have probably had a look.
Probably have at least looked at them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we're not going over it like card by card.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, we also, though, have a bunch of new cards.
Wow, really? What a week this was.
It really was.
It really was.
Let's start with Lurk and the Lurk champions.
So day one, everyone and their mom played Lurk. Everyone wanted to see what it was like.
My mom was crushing the ladder with Lurk.
Yeah, no, my mom's a Lurk one trick. So it does a lot of things we expected it to do. 1, it runs out of cards very fast. 2, it hits very hard. Like, these 1-drops, by the end of the game, it's very common for them to have 7 or 8 power.
Easy.
Like, every game. But the deck does run out of cards very fast. I think a lot of people are running not a very good build. Like, I think Feral Presence is, like, the biggest trap on the planet. The 0-mana predict. I think it's really bad. Because it's just, like, 0-mana, scry, discard a card. Like, you just, like, yeah, it's super nice if you hit Rek'Sai on top, I guess. But,
or
like,
Pike or something.
Or Pike. Like, it's nice, but you're still down a card, even on those payoffs. I'd rather run something else. Even, like, Ancient Prep. You can run Ancient Prep Preservarium, and that enables Shapestone or something. But I've
seen a lot of people doing that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. Because the predicting and, like, finding Rek'Sai and Pike and putting them on top is huge. But you don't want to be, like, going down cards to do it, because the deck already struggles with card advantage so much. Your units are so easy to block and kill with, like, removal spells. And any, like, 2-power unit can, like, trade with most of your fishies. So, yeah, I don't like anything that puts you down card advantage. I think the best card in the entire deck is, like, the Call of the Pack or something. The 2-mana burst Lurk spell.
That's so good.
Put something from your hand onto top. Make 2 Lurkers in your hand.
Does it go on top?
It goes on top, yeah. So you have, like,
that.
You put, like, Rek'Sai or Pike on top from your hand.
Oh, wow.
And then you attack and you trigger it. So it's pretty common. Like, I'll have one play I made the other day was I had 2 Rek'Sais in hand. And my Rek'Sai was on 7 power. I actually had all. Yeah, I had 2 Rek'Sais and a Call of the Pack or whatever. So I played Rek'Sai. It's at 7 power. I call the pack the other Rek'Sai on top. Attacked with Rek'Sai. It gets pumped 3 times. Flipped. And then I made Lurkers and I was drawing another Rek'Sai. So I made like 5 Lurkers that turn, because you make 2 from Call and you made 3 from flipping Rek'Sai. 3 from flipping Rek'Sai. So it's like 5 total. I was getting another Rek'Sai. I have like an 11 power Trampler attacking you.
Yeah, when Rek'Sai flips, that's typically close to the end.
Yeah, so Lurk hits hard, does cool things. 3 Bone Skewer is an absolute must. That card is very good in this deck.
So good, especially alongside like a Pike, which is very, very strong. There's been lots of games where it was like, did you draw Pike or not? That was like what decided if
not
if,
draw
they won or
Pike,
lost.
but draw Pike as a spell.
Yes.
He has to be a spell. Yeah, Pike on his own, not it. But yeah, the Pike spell when you lurk and he flips into like Bloody Business or something from below, or I don't know, not Bloody Business. You guys know what I'm talking about.
The thing.
Yeah. The 4-mana strike card, because then that's when he like turbocharges his way to leveling. And I have seen Pike execute my entire board a lot. It does happen. All it needs is like a bone skewer, and then your entire board's gone. Jawfish has been crushing me. The 8 mana, all your lurkers strike things, unironically kind of good.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of people main decking it. I am, because I think it's hilarious. But
it's hilarious.
It gets created a lot, because you have Rek'Sai creating lurkers, and the Call to Pack creating lurkers. It's not uncommon to cast 2 Call to Packs a game, and there's only so many lurkers that it's relatively common that you create it.
Yeah, sometimes it just hits the board and wins the game.
Yeah. Darn. Oops, I win. Yeah. Oops, I killed your things. I had one with like 5 lurkers, and Jaw was the 5th, and they all struck 1 unit, and I was like,
yeah.
Come on.
My opponent did that to me too. They're like giving me the sad part. I can see it.
It's like, woo! Sorry, bud. Now, so sounds like Lurk's the shit, right? It's the greatest possible thing ever. But here's what happens about 30% of your games. You play a Lurk. First of all, if Lurk's not attacking on turn 1, the deck gets worse, like a lot worse.
Yeah.
It really wants to be lurking on turn 1 because then you can't block.
Even turn 2 as well. When you get turn 1 into the fish on 2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But
Big
if
difference.
you miss either of those, you're probably just going to lose the game. Maybe not. Okay, that's a
lot worse for sure.
Bit of an over-exaggeration. But like, I've had so many times where my opponent's gone like turn 1 attack, and I just like, they miss lurk, and I just block it with like a Jagged Butcher. And then they play the fish and attack and miss it, and I just block with Jagged Butcher, and they just
okay. The
game's just over, right? It's like
brutal.
done.
I've never seen anyone miss 2 before. That's like
that happens a lot. I feel like
I've seen 1
more. Yeah, it happens more than you think it should. I feel like. But you know, when you're putting like all these spells in your deck, especially if you're running like the Ancient Preps and the Shapestones, like you're like 30% non-lurk.
Oh really? I
Yeah.
didn't know this was that high.
Even if you're like trimming on a lot of the non-lurk stuff, and you're like trying to go pretty much as lurk as possible, you're still like 25% non-lurk. 20 is about as close as you can get without just like literally jamming all the lurk cards, all the 5, 6, and 8s.
And I guess that's like an argument to be made for Feral Presence, in that it's like, you're down cards, but like that's not what you're about. You're about just making sure that you always hit your lurks, and you try to do a super linear thing.
And that's true.
But then you're playing bad cards. Yeah,
then you're playing bad cards. Also, Feral Presence doesn't have lurk.
Oh, it doesn't?
No.
I just assumed it did.
Let me look it up, but I feel like it doesn't. The other one does, the one that puts the O2 free attack fish. Yeah, it does not have lurk.
Oh, that's okay.
Which, in my mind, makes it even worse. The other one, the one that puts the free attack fish on top, that one has lurk.
I see, okay.
So I would rather play that, honestly. I still don't play it, but I would rather play that. Yeah, so like the deck sometimes just doesn't do its thing. Also, like, you're 75% to hit lurk or whatever. If you play Feral Presence, like, and you're casting Feral Presence to go from like 75 to like, what, 90 maybe %? That's not a huge increase. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, talking about lurk though as a whole, it seems like a lot of decks that I would have thought would be popular are not really showing up. And I feel like my thinking is that lurk is like holding them down. Like I tried, when I got to Diamond, I tried just a bunch of different decks, you know, because they couldn't fall down. And like, you know, Dragons and Field of Rush and Easy Draven and lurk just seemed really good into a lot of like what used to be like the staples
I feel
the
like
format.
Ezreal Draven probably has a good matchup into them. You have blockers,
it should.
You have removal,
I
and then
it should.
You just like save your sentries for Rek'Sai if you can.
Yeah, I lost the one game I played against it, but I felt like I'd made mistakes. So.
One thing that I'm seeing and experiencing is decks without like counterspells are very soft to Pike. Very soft.
Yeah, because there's not. What else? How else do you stop it?
You can't stop it. It just happens in the Pipestone field.
Yeah.
And then they cast Bone Skewer, and they wipe your entire board. Like easy, right? So that is something to keep in mind. Decks without counter spells. It's kind of going to be soft spike. So I think the Lurk deck, I think it's here to stay. I don't think it's tier 1, right? I would put it tier 2, solidly tier 2. But we'll see.
I think it's tier 1.
Okay.
But I think it's just like we're talking about. It has a high fail rate.
Yes.
So it kind of reminds me like a Lee Sin Zilly,
sure.
Just with a higher fail rate than
and I think the fail rate's like I mean the fail rate on Lee Sin is like not drawing Lee Sin, right? Which sucks, but like that's what Zoe's for. You can still win the game. You have Mentor Sparkles and everything, but like the fail rate on this, I would more liken it to like the fail rate on TLC or Field of Rush. Like sometimes you just don't do anything, like at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You miss your lurks, you don't try to champs, and like that's the end of the game. I think stun cards go way up in value.
Yeah. They're almost always playing units and attacking. They have what's her name?
Rek'Sai?
I want to say Xerxes. Rek'Sai.
Rek'Sai. Yeah, it's Xerxai is like the other thing. Rek'Sai.
Oh, okay, the big one.
So Rek'Sai's the champ. Like Concussive Palm right now is so good for me. Every deck I play that plays Ionia, I'm like, how do I want 2 Concussive Palms or 3 Concussive Palms?
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, if she doesn't attack, then she gets shuffled back into their deck.
Because that's the level up condition. She has to attack.
Kill her.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you basically kill her and make a 3/2 to block their other lurker. That is one thing that like Lurk I feel like is kind of struggling with is fast and slow speed interaction is like pretty good against them because of how Rek'Sai works. Open attacking isn't super ideal all the time. Like you can't always just open. Yeah. And like P&Z removal and stuff is so strong against Lurk because all their units are like 1 to 3 toughness until you get to like Rek'Sai or like the bigger ones. That often open attacking just means you're walking into a Mystic Shot. Usually it's still correct, but yeah. So that's what I think about Lurk. I think it's good. I don't think we've found the optimal list yet. I think we're getting closer.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like when new cards come out, I feel like I'm always too quick to judge. Yeah. Like, nope, that's not good.
I play one game, I'm like,
yeah. It's like, oh, actually, you know what? They're like, it's gonna take some time to refine these things. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, like Echo, is the other champ that came out, and yeah, at first I was like, I don't get it. Like a 4/2 for 4, like doesn't seem very powerful. And the first few times I played against it, I was like, yeah, it's like deck doesn't seem very good. But as the lists have gotten better and better, I've been much more impressed with the deck and just everything that like Echo can do and the cards surrounding Echo. I still don't really understand. Like there's like so much going on.
There's so many things going on with Echo. All his cards, I don't get it. I get confused with them, and he's cool.
Sometimes I like to create this card and I try to find it. Like,
I'm like, which one of these is it? Is it the created card that creates another card that they draw?
In their deck? In their hand? The fleeting one?
Which one is this? Yeah.
Reanimates things and rallies? What?
Yep.
I don't...
There's so many created cards with Echo. It makes sense. Like, Zillion finally makes sense.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, he was so bad. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's all these cards he was supposed to go with. Like the cat, feline,
Cat's so
whatever,
good.
fallen feline. That card's so good.
So good.
Hexite Crystal, the freeloader guy, the 1/3, like that card's really cool. I could see cutting it, but like what I'm saying is like the predict archetype makes sense now.
Yeah,
they're missing these role players, right? These pieces.
It looks really fun. Frankly, I'm like,
it's a good time.
Sad I haven't.
It's a good time.
Played it.
You've been too busy grinding.
I know. I gotta come that ladder. Dubs. The predict and then draw a card.
Yeah,
that card is absurd.
Yeah, that card rocks.
That just seems.
I've been playing it in Ezreal Karma.
Nice.
I've been playing a lot of PNZ. I really like PNZ right now.
PNZ got a lot of toys.
Like I was saying, I was playing a lot of Ezreal Twisted Fate. Really enjoying like the PNZ Bilgewater Shell. I've been playing Karma Ezreal quite a bit because you know me, huge Karma guy. Yeah, so like really enjoying PNZ. It feels so much more fun to play now. And I already enjoyed it. But I feel like a lot of the things just kind of made it better. What have you been playing?
So I played Shurima Burn
Okay.
and ran it all the way up to Diamond 1 game away from Masters. So there was only one person in Masters, and I lost, and then I proceeded to lose like 5 more games and drop out of them too. Now, like lots of people are in Masters.
It really do be like that sometimes. You miss
so
the second
close.
place spot.
So close.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the deck's not particularly good, but it beats up on people that like, are trying things out, and it goes really fast, so you can play lots of games. Seemed okay against Lurk. It's like maybe 50-50. But yeah, I don't know. There's like a lot of like Field of Rush is running around. Yeti decks are running around.
The Yeti deck's kind of
cool. What's the other one? Twisted Fate, Draven? No, not Draven. Who's the other guy? Swain. Twisted Fate Swain. I've seen a lot of.
Yeah.
And like none of those decks were like something I was really looking forward to playing against.
Yeah.
Lots of just kind of control-y sort of variants, things that looked like they were trying to pick on like pirates and Lurk.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So I've been playing some Lee Sin Zoe recently, loving it. Big fan. I feel like Lee Sin Zoe's back.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Lee Sin's time to shine, at least the way the meta's shaping out right now.
Yeah, and it makes sense that, everything, like Lee Sin was like OP, and people were calling for nerfs, and then a bunch of other stuff came out, like TLC and Thresh Nasus, Aurelia Azir, and everyone forgot about it. And then those all got nerfed. Yeah, those all got nerfed.
And here comes Lee Sin from the ashes. Yeah,
right back to where it was. People are gonna be hating on the deck real fast.
Oh yeah. Now we say like busted. Busted means that deck had like a 48% win rate. It was busted at the higher levels of play and literally nowhere else.
I mean, it was pretty darn good.
It was very good. It was very good. Nick Makes Plays is already upset.
I saw it. I saw his tweet. He's like, it's going to be Pirates and Lee Sin Zoe.
It took first 4 hours, I think, for him to tweet about Lee Sin. That's it. He's already like, last patch was better because I didn't have to play against Lee Sin. I was like, okay, bud.
I don't get Pirates. Pirates is like a deck I'm never afraid to play against.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strong deck, right? And it wins games, but like, yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm usually not like, oh my god, Pirates.
No, Pirates.
Oh, but yeah, it's a good deck. It does what it's supposed to. It's quite strong right now, especially like
good against Lurk, right?
It's probably like you just aggro them out and then kill them,
and you play the deal 1 damage to 3 things.
Make it rain, yeah.
Make it rain. A bunch of those seem pretty solid against the Lurkers.
Yep, and then they're like, okay, I can finally develop my Rek'Sai, and you're like, okay, decimate, like you're dead. Yeah. They don't heal or anything. So yeah, and also like aggro, pre-established aggro decks will always do good week 1.
In new metas, yeah.
It's just how it is. While people like me are just getting greedy with Karma Lee Sin and stuff like that, which I have been playing. I've been playing a lot of Leona. I've been playing Leona Zoe and Leona Yasuo.
What's that about?
It's just, I liked Leona.
I've always liked Leona. I feel like you guys, like that's like, I little kidded Leona back in the day. That was like my thing.
I'm like a new wave Leona.
I've always just had like a soft spot in my heart. And then, now what's this renaissance of people liking Leona? Yep. She almost had Overwhelm.
She almost had over. She did for like 6 hours. It was crazy. And then they patched that out. I was like, oh my god, that's like so nice that Leona got a buff. Hell yeah, I'm so excited to play Leona.
Riot was like, sorry, what?
And Riot's like, oh. Oops. And then took it away. And that was sad. They just didn't want to buff Targon. But so I've been playing a bit of Leona. It's fun. She's like pretty good right now. Like Pirates gets absolutely just stonewalled by like all the Daybreak cards.
That new 2-drop's pretty good, hey? The one that stuns?
Yeah, the 2/3 bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have the new 1-drop Daybreak / Nightfall card, the focus one.
Oh yeah, how's that been?
Card's cool. It's really nice because you play it on like turn 5. You play like the dude. You know the dude? The 5 mana. Guy. It's always day.
Riz or whatever?
Something.
Rise?
You play him and then you just immediately like class that card and you're like, you just draw 2, essentially.
Oh, sick. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, thanks.
Love it.
You can use it to like stun things with Leona. Not at focus speed. People keep saying that. technically you are putting the stun on the stack of focus speed, but your opponent will get to interact afterwards because the skill goes on the stack. So you can't just be like gem speed, open. Like it doesn't work like that. I kind of wish it did, but it does not.
That'd be savage.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of this Yeti deck that's running around?
It's like the most literal stat check deck on the planet. I think it's really bad.
Sorry, stat check?
It's a stat check deck. Yeah. It's like, do you have the stats to block these? No, I win. Yes, you win. Like, so that's like a League of Legends thing.
I've never heard that.
Champs that are essentially called stat check champs, which means like if you fight them, there's no skill involved on their end. So they're just like, if you don't have the stats to deal with me, I'm going to kill you. And if you do, you're going to kill me. Like no matter what, there's like no skill involved really. They're called stat check champs. Like Garen's a stat check champ in League of Legends.
Okay, next time we play it, make sure you point out some of those for me.
I will.
I just
want
be
like stat check champ.
Skill.
Don't fight
I
them.
click on you. Do I win?
Yeah. Oh, you want to be the stat check champ? Yeah, you want to be Garen then. Yeah, Garen, exactly. Trundle, things like that. Yeah. So the deck is just like a stat check deck. You know, it plays a bunch of 5/5s without overwhelm. So if you can profitably trade with that, then you have the easiest time when playing it. And if you can't, you're gonna have a really hard time.
Yeah. Deck's cute. It definitely can win some games.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem
struggles
like,
against Lurk. Because Lurk gets stats. you're just trading these Yetis with like your 1-drops. You're like
one drops.
Block.
Some of their stuff has overwhelm.
It kills their thing through troll chant. It's like kind of
They got
insane.
Sejuani and they've got that other one that overwhelms.
Yep.
I haven't seen a lot of Thralls. Turbo Thralls?
No, I don't know if that's because people want to play new things or what, but
or if maybe Lurk is really good against
maybe Lurk's really keeping it down. I mean, that deck does play like 3 Avalanche and Blighter Beams and stuff, right? So
yeah, I don't think that's like necessarily like what are you gonna do? Avalanche every 1-drop?
Yeah, you have to at some point, right? You have to Avalanche
so big.
Every 1-drop, and their Lurkers can attack into your 8/8s, and you have to like freeze them or they just trade, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it just like doesn't line up very well. Overwhelm might be the same, which I would kind of be happy about. I hate Overwhelm.
Yeah, Overwhelm's a toughie. Mm-hmm. What about we definitely touched on Aurelia's year before. So I'm pretty sure. So first off, Threshnasus, I'm pretty sure is like I saw Ace one trick in it at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. I played him against a couple times, and then like a few hours later, he was off of it.
He's off it.
Something else. He was on Karma
Ezreal.
Karma Ezreal, I think, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I tried it also, and the changes were pretty significant. And I mean, the deck was already somewhat on the decline too. And then Aurelia's year, I've seen a little bit. Has it been like
around?
Super? Yeah. Kind of reminds me of TF
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is exactly what they're going for, right? They don't want to just nerf it out of existence. They just want to make it not OP. So far, seems like they've done okay with that. We'll have to monitor it, right? I don't think a ton of people are playing Aurelia's year because like everyone's so tired of it. People just want to play new things. New expansion, huge patch, right? Come on, play new things. Is what most people are like thinking. So yeah, I am going to start making the shift this weekend onto like good decks just to push to Masters really quick. I promised myself I would do that. It was like, okay, I need to actually get LP this season. I need to do this. I have
the contract.
Yep.
You signed it.
I did sign it, and then I can switch to my Smurf and do whatever the hell I want. So, yeah, not certain what I'm going to pick yet. I think I'm going to put in some reps with Karma Ezreal. It feels like the real deal. Which excites me a lot. And I think if it is the real deal, that's a deck that could perform very well in a tournament setting.
Sure.
So I'm going to put a lot of reps into that. At least that's my plan. If I play 10 games and I decide I'm not really feeling it, then I'll find something else. But for now, that's kind of my plan for the weekend.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that like so many of the top decks took a hit. It's like, what does the lineup look like now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who knows? Like easy something. Lisa
Probably.
Zoe.
Ezreal might become like
something.
a really contested pick in lineups.
Yeah,
the way like
Raven?
Zoe was
does
before.
It go?
Mm-hmm. Do you play it with Twisted Fate? Do you play it with Karma? Like, yeah. Timo?
I like it. I like where it's at. And also, I just like everything being new and like you don't know and you have to figure it out. And it's not just like, guess I have to play this thing.
Yeah,
again.
I feel like we desperately needed that. Shen J4, another seeming winner of the patch. Didn't really get touched. Gets Twin Disciplines, which is a fantastic combat spell at 2 mana, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't really care for the Shen boat. I'd rather just play Brightsteel Protector, the Brightsteel formation.
Yeah. Somebody played that against me. I immediately killed them.
Yeah, you're like, cool, thanks.
Cute.
But yeah, like that deck seems to be kind of doing it right now. It's not my preferred playstyle, so I haven't put time into it, but I've seen other people have success with it.
Yep. I've seen, speaking of some other decks like that, like Deep running around.
Oh, really?
Didn't really get touched too much, so.
That's true.
Deck's just solid. I feel like we need to upgrade where the Deep went from like a meme deck to like it could get in there as like a tournament silver bullet or something, to now like deck's legit just like a decent control deck.
Yeah, it is. Like, especially with everything else getting hit, Azirelli taking big hit and everything. Like Deep was like a tournament staple for the last season for sure. And anybody who can test that can just go look at the seasonal Erigby one, where it was
double finals.
Yeah, in the finals. Yeah, Deep's just been a tournament staple of the last season, and yeah, I don't hate seeing Deep around. I think it's a cool deck.
Yeah, I like that it's unique.
Yeah, it's cool, and you know, people who play Deep love Deep. The people who play Deep back when it was 35% win rate. Man, you can't talk them out of it. So happy to throw those guys a bone. I get Karma, they get Deep. Everybody's happy.
I get Lee Sin.
You get Lee Sin. Yeah. I will be playing probably a lot of Lee as well. Another deck I'm very fond of. Although I don't know, Lee feels a little like, I was talking to Jay Sensational and What Am I in the Runeterra show about this. Lee Sin is a combo deck. It's like kind of a tempo combo deck, right? And it's not a control deck. It's not going to generate these overwhelming card advantage things. But I feel like the card advantage for other regions in the game have caught up. So
I see that.
I feel like the deck is a little bit more all in on like killing people in a timely manner, either with Lee or like the Sparkle Flies and stuff like that. I feel like I can't drag out games too long because other decks are so much better at like finding and gaining card advantage now.
There's a lot of things like Merciless Hunter we talked about a lot was a big bane for the deck. Hits Zoe, hits I.
Yeah.
But now there's like quite a few things that give vulnerable. Like there's the new Lurk card that does it. I'm trying to think what else there is.
You still have like Exhaust, Relentless Predator,
exactly.
Merciless Hunter, Rock Hopper. Yeah.
All that stuff's very good. Those are like very good ways for those decks to remove your important units that they just didn't used to exist.
You only have like a few, right? Like, if you play I and your opponent kills your I, a lot of times you're like, oh,
that's trouble.
No, right?
Emergency,
oh, God.
emergency,
yeah.
Not the I.
Panic.
Yeah, but if I lives, you're like, oh, this game's over.
Yeah, cool. Darn. Like, you just never get to really attack ever again. So, yeah, I do love playing Lee, though. I'm a huge fan, obviously.
Yeah, I'll play Lee if I can, whenever. Especially now that's been gone for like 2 seasons. Like,
yeah.
That itch, baby.
I mean, maybe.
Want to go play.
Maybe Karma Lee, though. Karma Lee might be a thing.
Could be. Yeah,
I've been playing Karma Lee and really enjoying it. Obviously, Lee, like, I think Lee Sin should be on the Sparkleflight Goat I package. Right?
I prefer it, yeah.
Yeah. Or the Sparkleflight Goat Mentor package. I think that's also 3 Eye of the Dragon, obviously. I think Karma Lee should be on the only Eye of the Dragon package because Karma wants to run 3 copies of Gift from Beyond.
Yeah.
Which crescendoms out Eye, and you don't want to miss and hit like Sparklefly.
No, it's awkward.
It feels so bad. You just paid 4 mana for a Sparklefly. Doesn't even get pumped. Yeah.
Do you think this is indicative of a healthy meta where like it's not just like you have to play these 2 champions together and these 2 champions together, but it's like, oh, maybe Zoe could go with any of these, or maybe Ezreal could go with any of these, or Lee Sin can go with these, or like, you know, there's so much mixing and matching that you can do.
Yeah. I think that's not only like healthy, I think like that's really good. Because sometimes like things that are healthy for the meta aren't exactly like what the people want. but like I think this is what the people want, right? I think this is like such a good thing for like deck builders and stuff. And people like, especially in tournaments, right? You're like, oh, I really want to play Lee Sin, and I also want to play this, but I can't because they both use Zoe, and you literally can't play anything else with them. But then now, maybe, right? This is 2 days into the patch. We're not like quite sure yet.
Yeah.
But like, what if you could like mix and match champs a lot? Then all of a sudden you get all these super unique tournament lineups that are popping up, and I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. There's an OLS tournament I think this Saturday. It's like tomorrow.
You're in that one, right?
I'm excited to see what pops up.
You're in that? You're playing in that?
I'm going to try to.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna be like, I have to like leave the house midday, so like I don't know how much of it I can do on my phone.
That makes it a bit awkward. Yeah, you're like driving, like, hold on, I got to attack.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. That's a horrible idea.
Pull over the side of the road, then you do it. Then you get back on the road.
Yeah. The other thing that's going on, speaking of tournaments, is Monday. There's a bit of a sideboard tournament going on between a couple of the streamers. I know I'm going to be playing in it. Going to be pretty interesting. It's one deck, eight people. You bring one deck and you bring 10 cards sideboard, and you can sideboard between games 2 and 3. We just wanted to like see how the format looks.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, my gut is like, I'm not real keen on sideboarding. I really like the pick 3 decks ban one.
I think the 3 deck ban ones, like, as long as the meta's healthy, I think that's like a super good format. But I haven't, when people ask me about sideboarding, I've never played it, so I can't weigh in. And I would really like to have that like first-hand knowledge and like expertise that I could like share with people, right? I'd be like, now that I played this format, I can say that this, and this because of this, and I really like this, but I hate that. And right now, I just have to be like, I don't know.
It's hard to judge with no actual frame of reference for sure.
100%.
But coming from Magic, where everything was sideboard.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I much prefer the pick 3 ban one. I think it's like
really?
a lot more skill intensive.
I love more interesting. I love bringing
more interesting matchups, like right, because there's so much like typically, anyways, like a lot of the time there's like just like a lot of decks you can bring, a lot of decks they'll bring, and then like there's just so much. Whereas in Magic, when it's sideboarding, like you basically one trick. You're like, yo, I'm the best mono red player on the planet. Like, come at me. Like, I'm the best. Like, whatever. Pick a deck and just try and just one trick it. And to me, that's like not very fun. Like, you almost end up playing the other decks in Magic just so you know how to play against them, or to see if you want to move over.
That's pretty much exactly it. Or like see what sideboard tech might be better. I like that aspect. I like both for different reasons. I really love the idea of picking one deck and just like deep diving. And I think there's a ton of skill expression in sideboarding, like bringing a sideboard in the actual act of sideboarding. It's really tough, and I think a lot of people don't do a very good job at it. But I also love constructing a tournament lineup. I love the idea that I don't have to show up with my one deck and go, okay, well, if I ever run into burn, I just lose. Yeah. Even with my sideboard cards, right? Like, that sucks. And so you have the opportunity to build a lineup, and then you have a ban to keep something safe, right? Like, yeah, you can run into a lineup that counters you, but, you still get a ban.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how it works out in Runeterra, because there's not, like, that many cards to choose from. So, like, if you take a deck like Aurelia Azir, like,
what are you boarding in?
Sideboarding in that deck. Like, the deck's so tight already. Like, what do you even...
You have, like, a 10-card sideboard, and you have, like, 3 Howling Abyss, 3 Field of Rush. Like, you can't even play, because who cares?
Yeah, you don't even care. Just 10 islands.
Yep. And I think a lot of that has to do with the game being so new. So, like, maybe, we're barely after 1 year. Maybe in 3 years, we don't think about it that way anymore.
Maybe. I mean, they specifically, like, they don't just make tons of cards like Magic does, right? Like, Magic will make a card that's like 100 mana, draw one card.
Magic makes cards that are, like, bad, unplayable in any format. Cards that are halfway decent and limited. Cards that are really good and limited. Cards that are sideboard cards and constructed. Cards that are good cards and constructed. Also bad cards for constructed. Like, Yeah, there's just so many like different cards, and Runeterra makes a lot of cards just to be played. Like,
yeah, they don't make chaff cards. Typically.
Yeah, cards, maybe they're not very good, but like they have an intended purpose, and you could play them in like a interesting kind of way, which leads to a lot less sideboard-esque cards.
Yeah.
Especially if you build your game to not have a sideboarding format, why would you make sideboarding cards? Like Passage Unearned is as close as we've gotten, right?
Destroy one Targon card.
Yeah, it's counter one Targon card. Kind of weird. Just main deck.
Oh, is that actually the card?
What? Passage Unearned?
Passage Unearned.
No. Have you?
Okay.
Do you not know what Passage Unearned does? It's 3 mana fast speed. Obliterate everything that's entered the battlefield this turn that hasn't been
okay, never mind.
Yeah. So it was like Feel the Rush counter or Harrowing. For a second, I think people were playing one.
I played against. I played against it in seasonals. My opponent's Thresh Nasus, and I was like, "Oh, so if both of our Threshes level, then they can just be like, aha,
boop,
get your Nasus,
Mm-hmm.
or just ever
if they have it." But then you have to like draw it in matchups that it doesn't do anything, which is the majority of the matchups. I mean, granted, it also like obliterates all the Sand Soldiers from Zerelia.
A-bomb. Yeah, there's
just I don't know though. But yeah, not a fan of those.
Reason doesn't see a lot of play.
Yeah, I don't like those silver bullet cards. Like that. That's not even a silver bullet because like you could still shoot a silver bullet. I feel like that's like a cross that only affects vampires, and you're really hoping that like you run into a vampire because otherwise you're just like you just have this little dinky wooden cross and you're trying to beat off like a normal monster and nothing's happening. I don't know. Like
man. That analogy beating off the monsters.
Oh, beating off the monsters. Yep. That analogy got away from me. But you get what I'm saying. Like, there's like silver bullets, like the Kindred spell in TLC. That's like a silver bullet against Targon, right? But the card's still usable. It's still a bullet.
Spirit's Journey.
Spirit's Journey. Yeah. But Passage Unearned was just like straight up. 3 mana doesn't do anything. Like, the most value you would get is casting it for 3 mana to have more hand space.
Yeah.
Maybe you enable Nightfall with it.
It'll be interesting to see how it works out. Or even just playing best 2 out of 3 with just, like, the same deck. Like, it's just like, I don't know. Because sometimes you just get high rolled or whatever. You're like, maybe, like, the smoothing the variance a little bit might be nice.
Sure. I think if you want a best of 3, you have to actually have some distinction between the games, like be it sideboard or with multiple decks.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Rito, give us best of 3 ladder. Pretty please.
Oh my god!
Give us bring 3, ban 1 ladder. Mirror your tournament format. It's killing me.
Please,
mm-hmm.
Please, God, please.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of tournaments and whatnot, when are we going to get the updated Worlds qualification thing?
That's very
leaderboard.
Important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How long after last seasonal did they post that?
I want to say like a couple weeks. It was a decent chunk of time, enough so that I tweeted out like, "Hey,
please give it to me." Yeah, so maybe another week.
Please let me know when I can stop climbing this ladder.
Yeah, Jesus Christ,
chilling over here.
Just need to know how many points I have and how many points everybody else has. How are you feeling about your World's points? Figured we'd talk about that really quick.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to need a top 32 seasonals. Or like come like first on the ladder or something crazy like that, which I'm probably not going to try and do. So my strategy for this seasonal is that I'm going to play a shit ton. I'm going to play so much.
Right.
But I also played a lot last season. So
and
unfortunately I won tricked.
You did very well at 2 different things. The problem was you didn't do quite good enough at either one of them.
Mm-hmm.
To make it on that. Like, you were just under the threshold on both, I feel like. Right?
Yeah.
You didn't quite get to, like, you're in low double digits, but you weren't on ladder, but you didn't quite make it to, like, the top 5, 6, or 10 or whatever that you wanted to be at. And then for seasonals, you lost the win in it. The top 32.
Yeah, so I think this seasonals, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start scrimming, like, tomorrow kind of thing. Like, I'm going to be scrimming the whole time. I'm not going to wait until we get that last patch and then we have 2 weeks to rush.
Sure.
I'm going to be like scrimming through a whole way through. I'm also going to be playing on the ladder to make sure that I get the
7-2. Yeah.
7-2 cutoff.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's basically my strategy. If I have a shot at climbing the ladder, like if the top 6 or something will queue me, okay, maybe I'll lean into that a little bit harder. But I'm definitely going to be prioritizing scrimming a lot more and learning all the decks. Like it still like shocks me that I'm like, I take it for granted that I can like play a deck or something.
Mm-hmm.
But like the depth of knowledge you need is like extreme. Like it's like I wonder if people actually get it. You know, like I feel like I didn't really understand it until I played Thresh Nasus times hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games.
No, people don't know. They don't know.
Yeah,
they just see one person winning way more than they are, and they're like, "How are they winning so much?" And like, this is how.
Yeah. You know, and I think maybe like I realized it when people like Ace. I would always like try to play Ace's decks. I just couldn't win with them, and he's just like climbing. I'm like, how is this? What is he doing different?
I think I'm doing everything right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, there's just like an extra level of knowledge.
Yeah, and it's the littlest things. Like the littlest things. So like I played a bunch of Thresh Nasus, and I was doing a lot of winning with it. But I was still constantly evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Even like at the end, still learning new things. And when I would play with someone else, you know, they'd maybe like make some other plays that maybe I wouldn't, but not plays that I would think were bad.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's a mistake. I'm like, oh, that makes sense for this. But then we would end up losing, and I'm like, I never lose this matchup. I don't know.
I've never lost in that spot before. Yeah, and it's like those little things. Yeah, and it comes slow. Right?
Very slow.
Like the Draven Ezreal mirror was one of those for me. I'd played a lot of Draven Ezreal. That's how I qualified for my first seasonal. That's how I qualified top 32 on this recent seasonal. Like I have a lot of games on Draven Ezreal. But the mirror was tough, and I thought it was just like luck, right? I was like, oh, whoever has like tri-beams wins. And yeah, that's huge, right? Like getting tri-beam mirror opener is a big deal. But I went from like, I would only win like 30% of them. So I was like, clearly I suck at this, right? Like I'm clearly doing something wrong. And then the longer I played it, and the more I played it, and the more I watched other people play it, I got better and better and better and better and better until like the Draven Ezreal mirror was one of my best Draven Ezreal matchups. Like I felt like I knew it so well that what should be a literal 50-50 became like one of my best matchups with the deck. And these things like, and that's just one matchup. You know, getting to that level of knowledge in like a lot of the matchups takes so much work. Like Zoe Lee, I played over 1,000 games of Zoe. I just found out. I played Zoe Lee to rank 1. I won seasonals with like Zoe Lee, right? I'm like one of the most experienced Zoe Lee players probably like on the planet. And if I were to play Zoe Lee right now, it would not be near the level it was 3 months ago. Because while I have so much expertise with the deck, I don't have so much expertise with the matchups. And that's like just a whole nother level of like learning and studying that you have to do to like really, really learn a deck. And yeah, I think people just you don't know until you like get there and you really see. You have no idea. It's like, what's that called? Like the Dunning-Kruger effect, where it's that like
I don't know.
It might not be Dunning-Kruger, and I look like an idiot. Hold on. But you're gonna know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna Google it. It's like a bell curve of the more you know. Yep.
Okay.
So it's a curve where like this is how much you think you know, and like this is how much you actually know. So you start off like pretty low, and then once you learn a little bit, you think you know a lot. And then the more you actually know, the less you think you know.
Yes.
Right? Like experts in their field will tell you they're not actually experts.
Yeah.
Where people who just kind of dabble will tell you they're experts. It's kind of like that. Like
all the time.
You think you've like mastered it, and then you get over that hump and you realize just how much you have left to learn.
You can see the valley on the
You're
side.
like,
You're like,
oh my god,
like I go all the way down there. Yeah.
Oh no, funny. You're like, I know
true.
nothing. Right? There's so much left to learn, and it's so easy to get, because I was there. I talk about this multiple times on this podcast, where I started playing the game after a few weeks, got stuck at Master Zero LP, and went, why am I losing games? How are other people winning? I'm doing everything. I think I'm doing everything right. Like, and I just had to like set my ego down for a second and be like, let's watch other people play. Clearly, they're winning more than I am. They must be doing something different. And I watched other people play, and I was opened up to like an entirely new way to think about the game. Right? This was my big revelation in passing. Mostly was the big thing. I had to shift. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I had the revelation again watching you play Cephalopod in that match.
Draven Ezreal versus Deep.
Draven Ezreal versus Deep. He played it so well.
Very well. Proud Cephalopod. Yeah.
Had he just played out spells that made sense, like, hey, this is a really good, card advantage, tempo play where I can kill your thing and get something on the board. Very obvious plays. He probably would have lost.
Yeah. There was a spot. I know exactly what you're talking about. It was turn 7, and he had Deep, and we had a free board. The board was completely clear. And he was at like 12 or something. And I played
so you play it. Okay.
So I play Draven. I play Draven on the field, right? And it goes to him. He has 7 mana with Nautilus in hand, and he's Deep.
And also, I think the one that obliterates, right? Because you just put that on top of his deck.
He also had that in hand because it put it on top of it. So it's a 7/7. It obliterates. It can kill my Draven. And I play Draven, and I look at the camera, and I say, he's going to pass back to me. And he passes back to me with 7 mana. No spell to interact with.
Does not play the obliterate guy.
Yep, no obliterate guy.
Kill a Draven and have a 7/7 on the board. Seems pretty hot.
Because if he had, I win the game.
Tell him how.
Because I had Tribeam and Sentry. Yeah. And Cephalopod understood the matchup and knew that this was my big swing turn. And in order for me to like do things, I didn't have enough mana to do both. I had 6 mana after I played Draven. So he knew that if he passed, I would either A, have to develop, and then he could like devour something, and I couldn't Tribeam, or B, I would just have to attack with Draven, and I don't get the use out of my spells. And it ended up winning him the game and the match. So like super, super high level play there. And like you said it was a bit like kind of eye-opening. It was like, whoa, And these plays, not only are they not obvious to like most people, they're not obvious to like the majority of top people.
Yep.
Right? Like it's really hard to be in that spot and go,
yeah. Think about it. Think about it. He won the game because he didn't cast his very powerful spells.
Mm-hmm. And yeah,
at that moment anyway.
Yeah, at that he understood the matchup. And the board state and his own deck well enough to know that it was correct to pass there. And some of you people are thinking
happening,
well, obviously you pass. But yeah, it's all the time. It's like every turn you have to be at that level, right? And that's what really separates the like tippy top from everyone else who hit Masters once or something.
Yep.
Right.
Even from us.
Yeah.
Like I say, like every time, even after I played all the Thresh Nasus that I played, I hit a plateau where I could not climb any higher, and Ace just kept going.
Yep,
and playing against the same people I'm playing against.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part.
A big part of it is being humble enough to realize that you always have more room to grow. Because I'm sure at points, because we're both high level players, right? I'm sure at points. At least I felt that at points I have been one of the best players of a deck, period. And then I still have to you have to kind of rein that in. You have to be like,
you have to eat humble pie all the
exactly.
time.
You have to be like, yes, I'm very successful with this deck and I know how it works, but I have to constantly be evolving, or I'm going to be left behind. Like these other guys that are working hard, they're going to just stumble upon, they're working hard and they're constantly learning and stuff, and they're going to surpass me. And so you have to, we talk about it a lot, you have to be that learning mindset. You have to always be looking out for the next thing. You have to be deconstructing your matches critically. You have to go okay, I lost on turn 8 because of this card, but if I'd have played it differently on turn 2, this wouldn't have quite gotten to this spot. Maybe next time I need to play it that other way, and we'll see what happens there. And then all that kind of builds and builds and builds and builds and builds until you amass this like critical amount of knowledge, and all of a sudden you're just a person who wins with the deck more than other people. And then people look at you and go, how do you always win with that deck? I never win in that spot, right? Yeah, that was a really long-winded way for me to say keep learning.
and so two things to touch on that. One, that's kind of like what I learned from last season. You know, I didn't put the time in with my other decks, and that's why I also realized, I also waited, though. I waited for that last patch to come out and then tried to hit it hard. Like, nah, I want to learn all the decks that are good, like, right now. Like, yeah, things will change a little bit, but lots of stuff. There's so much. There's so much to learn.
Yeah, and the experience adds up. Like,
yes.
The deck that you said you didn't feel comfortable with was like Draven Ezreal and Dragons and stuff. Draven Ezreal or the Aesol Demacia deck, which you've played a lot of before. A bunch. And then you went into the tournament, and then after the tournament told me how unprepared you felt with those decks. And these are like you probably played more matches with Draven Ezreal than most people in seasonals had played with decks in their lineup.
Yep.
And yeah, you were like, I felt so unprepared. And that just really, I just want to like impart upon everyone listening how important it is to just always be learning, always be practicing.
And luckily for you guys, though, we are going to be releasing a whole bunch of deck tech on our Mastering Runeterra YouTube channel, where we do all the work for you and give you these spicy little nuggets of information. This is the deck. This is why you're playing these cards. This is how you play it. This is how you mulligan. Here's some games. So that we're going to start recording those tomorrow, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be pumping out a bunch of them this week and for the rest of the season. So make sure you subscribe. Come back and check those out.
Yep, keep an eye out and everything. That's about all I got.
Okay. Yes. Well, it was a good hour. It was a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I'm excited for this season, man. I literally am like,
so excited.
I'm like, I'm going to get off this podcast, go upload it, I'm going to get back on the ladder, go start grinding.
I went to bed and I was like, tomorrow I get to play more Runeterra. I was like,
hell yeah.
Which is not how I felt at the end of last season.
Good season. I did not enjoy last season at all. Ladder was rough. This one, I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to put in the time. I'm going to get that freaking Worlds invite.
There you go, dude.
That top 32.
Get there.
It'll be good. All right, kids. That's it from us. We'll see you again next Friday. Peace.
Thank you so much for listening to the Mastering Runeterra podcast with Jay and Bay. New episodes come out every Friday. If you haven't done so already, be sure to join us on Discord, check out the Patreon team, and have a look at our deck database on Twitter at Master Runeterra. Links to all of these can be found in the show notes and description.